Thank you so much. I just want to thank you so much for just acquiescing to my request to have this meeting, because I was like, oh my gosh, it's somebody else that I can like actually have a conversation with about all of these deeper things that are out here. Hermeticism and what Plato, Ptolemy, the cosmologies of the universe, from the old masters, they were actually the ones who lived during the golden age, because we certainly aren't. but no, I want to talk more about you. So this is my guest, Maggie, and she has a website that I just happened to come across by chance. It was amazing synchronicity, that happened from all of this. She has the Maggie's Holistic New York. So that's Maggie's Holistic, and with an S, New York. It's NY. And I'm going to put that up on the screen so that everybody can know what I'm talking about. And I'll leave the link in the description box. Thank you, Maggie, for being my honored guest.
Having me.
No, this is so amazing. So please just tell me a little bit about your business too, and how you got into what you do with investigating, doing research and decoding and all of that stuff.
Well, yeah, it's been like a 20-year process, I would say. Like first I learned about the and all the heavy metals in the, and then from there, the genetically modified foods and organic foods, and these are like layers of an onion, right? And then you get introduced to the political aspect of it and what's happening there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a whole other layer of awakening. And then it eventually all leads you to spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been on that path now for about 10 years. And this is like studying history, hidden history, I would say, that from like Sumeria and Egypt, ancient Greece, the Hermetics, and the whole alchemization of the human body, which is ultimately spirituality and awakening. So that's what brought me up to this point in time.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening pretty much, worldwide, is everyone's starting to question the reality that we're in, which is wonderful. And that's why we're having this conversation, is so that we can actually help others to connect with higher aspects of themselves that maybe they didn't know about. Or, if on my channel, I just share so many different things, like just dot connecting and decoding and trying to help people see, because I see so many things. I'm a double Aquarius, and I can look at all of the events around the world and go, oh my gosh, this is this, and this, and this is how the UFOs connect, and this is how this connects. But as far as Hermetics, do you actually like study and practice Hermetics yourself?
Yeah, I do actually. And so what I found was Kundalini yoga,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a 5,000-year-old practice. It's from the Mahabharata. And basically the whole point of the practice, and why I was even interested in dabbling in the practice 10 years ago, was because I had read the science behind it. And that's that whole caduceus, right, with the coiled snake, which represents the spine, with the bioelectric energy that the human has. And so the whole point of the practice is to actually generate the energy through mantras and mudras and breathing exercises, and then bringing it up to consciously to either the crown chakra or the third eye, to bring that like electrical energy and elevated oxygen to the brain, opening more doorways of your subconscious mind.
Yes.
And it's a real thing. It's definitely very real. It elevates your IQ. And that electrical energy, actually, I don't know if you ever heard of like Dr. Joe Dispenza,
Mm-hmm.
but he does these worldwide events, and he actually took just the breathing aspect of Kundalini yoga and uses it in his retreats because it has healing capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they've had like all these people like spontaneously heal themselves with this energy, learning how to generate it and then bring it up, in and up. So it's a really fascinating practice. And it's just one of many ways that you can awaken. You know, there's other people who do like herbal medicine, like ayahuasca and mushrooms and stuff like that to kind of bring you and help you connect with source. Or if something incredibly traumatic happens to you, it could be even like a spinal injury, where that also will bring the energy up to the brain. And the whole reason for all of this is to decalcify the third eye, you know, which is a combination really of the pineal and pituitary gland. One's female and one is male. And, you know, this helps you connect with source, have higher psychic abilities, more in tune with your intuition, stuff like that. And that's all because we're bombarded with chemicals on a daily basis. You know, fluoride, which is in your toothpaste, it's in a lot of the city water. Cities, well, I think most cities have fluoride added into their water supply. You know, bromine in the baked goods, and just chemicals all over the place, the air, the food, everything, right? So, and this is all literally to keep us from awakening. And I believe also like all these planetary alignments that are happening right now astrologically, like these are all it's a clock. It's a celestial clock. And it's cyclical. And so, you know, these calendars specifically mark these dates and this point in time because they know or knew that each planet has a specific frequency. And during certain alignments, the frequencies elevate the energy's electromagnetic fields. And we're part of the earth, so then we also elevate to higher states of consciousness because of it, you know. And that's why they say ground yourself. You know, it's just like charging a cell phone or anything else electric. You're grounding yourself to the earth's electromagnetic lines, allowing you to lift your electromagnetic energies, you know, your frequency, your to higher states of consciousness for evolution, human evolution, which is all in the mind. So it's fascinating. And then, you know, the Hermetics, like all the practices for Hermetics were all for that purpose as well, you know, where they would do these practices to elevate themselves to higher states of consciousness. And it's so fascinating because it's written in so many ancient texts, you know, like the Hermes Trismegistus, you know, then you have the Kabbalion and even the Gospel of Thomas, you know, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the Apocryphy of John, which is also known as the Secret Book of John. Like it's unbelievable. Like it's all written in there. But you're not going to understand it unless you're on a spiritual awakening. And even then, not everybody understands it. It takes.
It definitely takes someone whose soul is ready for the initiation process, you know, someone who's truly seeking higher knowledge and higher wisdom within. And it's absolutely everything. You know, there's consciousness in absolutely everything around us. And that was one of the things that was not told to many people, you know, because as we know, we had the Inquisition that marched around the world, stomping out knowledge and basically killing people to, you know, basically indoctrinate people. with,
Yeah, there were several inquisitions. There were
yes,
several in
yeah, I mean,
different countries.
it just
Yeah,
happened continually throughout time.
yeah,
And it seems to have dominated more, probably towards the age of Aries, I guess, and then into Pisces, is what the timeline that I've been following, based on the Western astrotheology charts. I know that the Vedas actually had a more accurate timeline than we do, because somehow they have subverted the timeline for the Western world, because it all of the calendars and everything have been changed.
yes.
And
Thanks to Pope Gregory in the 15th century.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we got the Gregorian calendar, went from the Julian calendar to Gregorian, and they've been changing, adding. No, they actually took away a month and then made it just 12 months, because supposedly they
Yeah.
a month out. So where does that month fit in? That's the question.
That's in December. I forgot what the name of the zodiac is. It's Ophiuchus, I think, is the zodiac, and that's in December, January.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be a man wrestling with a snake. Is it real though? Because from what my research said is that NASA came up with that object and everything. And I was like, NASA came up with this? What do you mean NASA? I don't trust NASA as far as I can pick them up and throw them,
Yeah.
So if
Same.
that whole narrative is originated from NASA, then I won't believe it. And from the images that I saw of the star, what the formation looks like, it looked like a computer, like a box with legs. But they're saying that it's a man holding a snake, which would make sense in a way, but I just don't trust NASA.
Yeah, the serpent sign. It's the serpent sign, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I know that Pope Gregory is responsible for a lot of things, actually. He took that away. He added 1,000 years to our history. He added the J to our alphabet. There was no J. And that took several centuries for it to be completely accepted from various different countries. But originally, Jesus's name was Jesus, because there was no J. Yeah, there was no J.
Yes, like
yeah.
So from what I had to take art history, and in art history, it starts kind of revealing where all of this comes from. And it was from Akhenaten, who was trying to take all the other gods and just say there's only one God. And all of the people were up in arms over this whole thing. They're like, no, what are you talking about? There's gods and everything. And he was the one who was trying to establish the one God thing. So now we're learning that consciousness is everywhere.
Monotheism.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think many cultures had deities, usually a dozen, right? Like the 12 gods and goddesses, and then we have the 12 disciples. All of that. It's really interesting, because you can take it and you can plug it in with like the months and the days of the year, and so many various different things. But ultimately, I think that the spiritual awakening leads to you alchemizing yourself into higher states of consciousness, going through your 7 energy bodies, which are your 7 chakras, which is, I think, I don't forget all of them, but I know one's astral, one's emotional, one's mental, upper and lower, and so on. And the whole thing of alchemizing yourself is kind of going through those energy bodies, because everything is mental, and rectifying them consciously rectifying them. And then once you do that, as above, so below, as within, so without, everything is fractal. Everything has a positive and a negative, right? The law of gender, the law of polarity under the 7 laws of the universe, also known as the Kabbalion and the Hermetic laws from Hermes Trismegistus, which Hermes, by the way, means messenger, and Trismegistus means 3 times magical. So, it's the Holy Trinity. It's the way I see it, like man, woman, Holy Spirit.
Exactly.
So, right. So you alchemize yourself, and then you have a matching counterpart to that. So, a lot of these deities, not all of them, but a lot of them had matching counterparts. And that's supposedly the ultimate goal is to find your matching counterpart and elevate, with them to lift the energies of the planet. Is what's written in a lot of these ancient texts. And I think Plato's Symposium explains it, where it's like an energy ball of consciousness, and then Zeus broke it into 2 and made 1 male, 1 female. And that's kind of like the Adam and Eve story.
Yes, exactly.
Same thing. Or Shiva and Shakti, the yin and yang.
It all goes back to the
really
same thing, and that's the thing. Everybody, there's throughout each age, this is what I think, this is sort of a theory that I have regarding the ages of, that we go through the constellation cycle, is that each age, the names change, but the players remain the same. Yes. So that's what gets confusing for most people. And that's why most people are like running around chasing their tail saying, oh, Enki and Enlil and, all these other people. I'm like, it's the same players. It's always the same. So, but the story is
the same knowledge. Yeah. It's the same knowledge. And then the characters just change, like you said, with every age. And every one of those eras lasts like 2,150 years.
Yes.
And then there's always like a deity that like ushers in that era, right? With that knowledge. It's really interesting. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, the whole thing.
But I also believe that this whole agenda, with
yeah.
I don't want to say, but like agenda and the whole desensitizing sexuality for the kids especially, and having it be like a handshake, or intimacy, in other words, having it be like a handshake, and then just dividing everybody up and making them so confused even about their gender, making it that much more difficult for that newer generation to even come close to figuring out what we're discussing right now.
No, it's true. So it's erasing foundations for people. So it's breaking up foundations of who people are. Now, do you know who Catherine Austin Fitts is? Like, she was in the world of finance, pretty much. And she's a very well-known, like, she's, pretty much famous, but she was in the higher echelons of our society. And she
was a Fitzgerald. Is that what Fitzgerald?
Yeah, I'm not sure if she's Fitz, Catherine Austin Fitts. So I'm not sure, but she's for the people. She's not of the dark side, but she's holding her allegiance with the people. And she has come out and said many times that they are trying to blur the lines between genders, because what's coming is the rights for robots and artificial intelligence. And I feel like that's also going to entail the hybrids that have not been spoken of yet. There are many stories that are starting to circulate now. More and more people are talking about Sasquatch. More and more people are talking about Dogman, which is cynocephaly. More people are seeing strange beings they've never seen. And that a lot of this is being caught on people's home cameras. I personally know 3 people who have seen reptilian hybrids. And it's just getting very, very weird. I'm one of those people that will accept people for no matter what, their experiences are, because I'm Aquarius, so I'm into all the weird things. So people open up to me, when I talk about all this weird stuff, especially my close friends, they're like, look, I didn't ever tell you, but I've seen a reptilian hybrid. They saw like the eyes shift, but then I have another friend who has seen a full-blown reptilian. So this is what I'm saying is like, they walk amongst us and they're hiding right now. But the only thing is, like, there is a great deception on mankind going on right now. And from when you start combining what the UFO community has been saying about the underground bases, the military bases underground, and the experiments that have been going on, and this is a narrative that I've been listening to since I was a child, pretty much, is all the UFO information and all the weird stuff in the world. Well, it starts tying into, there have been beings underground that we have not been privy to because of NASA and what they're trying to perpetuate with what our cosmos is about, with the circling planets and all this stuff. But the only thing about that whole narrative is that can prove that it's a lie is that those stars that are over our head every night, they never change. It's always the same. And
that's the moon doesn't even rotate. Yeah.
Now, that's what I'm saying. It's like, this is not what we've been told. And NASA was established with the Nazis. After World War II, we brought their Nazis and then got their scientists, and they just
Project Paperclip.
Yes. And so that's why I'm like, people, we need to dial it back in and listen to what the philosophers of the Golden Age had to say about our world, and what sort of wisdom could they pass on, because they absolutely knew the world. During the Golden Age, that's the height of consciousness and awareness and everything.
Yes.
So now we need to go back into the past.
I believe we're entering that era again. Yeah, I believe we're entering that age again.
Well, and I'm not sure, because even in Vedic, they say that it comes about, the Satya Yuga, it comes about, in cycles. But from what I've looked at with the Western astrology, which is slightly different, if we are truly in the age of Aquarius, we're still in the Iron Age. So can you hear me okay? Because it sounds like it's messing up.
Yeah, no, I could hear you. It breaks up a little bit, but I could hear you.
I'm not sure why. I'll just plug my microphone. I don't know if it's like having a problem. It's a brand new microphone, but I'll just unplug it so it's not interfering. So I've looked at the Western astrology, and it is slightly different. I have one of my subscribers was telling me about what it says in Veda astrology right now, and it says that we're actually going into the age of Capricorn. I'm not sure. I mean, I trust that they probably know more than we do, because we've been lied to on such a grand scale. And I'm not sure how much the Pope could have wiped out the knowledge over in India, but I know that the Western over here, we've pretty much been wiped out. So whether we're in Aquarius or Capricorn, I don't know, but it's still the Iron Age.
Something's happening.
Yes.
Something's happening.
Yes.
There's like 10 years ago, there wasn't this many people awake.
Yes, exactly.
There wasn't this many people awake. You couldn't find a lot of the information online. It was there's more now than ever before. So I feel like definitely something's happening, and just the alignments, like the planetary alignments, signify something. And if right before, it was June 4th, when Queen Elizabeth she had like a ritual ceremony for the marking that all 9 planets were gonna align in back of the moon. And it started so we had the spring equinox, right? March 22nd, 23rd, somewhere around there. And then we had then we had these alignments happen, which took from January 4th up until, like, we felt the energies up until August. But the full alignment, I think, was like something like June 26th or 27th, somewhere around there. And when what she did in the ritual ceremony was she had like a purple cube, and then she had a globe on top of the purple cube, and she laid her hand on top of the globe, and then this like double helix of lights that shot across the whole entire front lawn at the Buckingham Palace lit up, and it lit up this tree that was a double helix tree. And you know, that's all symbolic, because symbolism is a whole other language within itself.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
Right. So she was doing the whole ritual. So like to me, right, because I love decoding, the purple box represented the crown chakra, you know, with the earth on top of the crown chakra. And when she laid the hands on top of it, it completely signified like the caduceus, the activation of the junk DNA that they keep on talking about.
Oh yeah.
Bringing us into higher, you know, levels of consciousness. Well, why would she do such a ceremony like that? Specifically, you know, June 4th, when it was the first several planets that were coming into alignment.
Yeah, so, you know, there's a whole thing regarding Queen. A lot of people say that she's reptilian. And a lot of the symbolism, I didn't see the ceremony, but now that you've mentioned, I'm going to go look it up, because I didn't know there was an actual weird thing with that. What I noticed though, like last Christmas, is that it was not the queen that was speaking. You could tell it was a fake one. It was like a lookalike,
like a hologram.
But she didn't even look exactly like the queen. So, and I had heard, of course, people are talking that a lot of these people are taken, you know, and gone to Gitmo, but I don't know. I think this is all by design, honestly. I believe that there's probably contracts with these beings that they get to play, you know, to teach us lessons of darkness, and then the light comes back. Because it just seems to be this whole thing with Yggdrasil, you know. Are you familiar with the Norse cosmology of our world, like what they say about Yggdrasil?
North, like, no, not really. No,
it's for the Norse. And honestly, when you see this information, it's really going to be like, oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. Right. So I can screen share one of the images, because I'm always talking about this, because I'm like, okay, this actually starts explaining a lot, honestly. And because it has the symbolism of the serpent, it has the symbolism of the eagle, it talks about the 9 realms and the different beings of the 9 realms. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, it literally has all of the beings, like the giants, the dwarves, the elves, like all of these aspects of what we have here in the world. And I'm just trying to get the proper, there it is.
Those are all remakes of the ancient Greek mythology.
Oh, I'm sure. And so, I'm gonna
the same thing. Same thing with like Zeus. Zeus had the eagle, was his animal, and
yes. So
the god of thunder, like Thor.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so this is what it says about Yggdrasil. And so I need a diagram like this for the Greek mythology, so that we can overlap that as well. Because with
just looking at this, it looks like the Kabbalah tree of life.
Yes, exactly.
Like those are all the Sephiros and everything.
Yeah. And I've overlaid those, you know, I've overlaid the 2 images in one of my other videos. But as you can see, this guy down here, this guy, his name is Middog.
Right.
And he only has 2 front legs And honestly, it's kind of like a Yalde Bayoff type of thing. You know, I don't know if you're familiar with the Yalde Bayoff information from like some of the Gnostic teachings and stuff. But he's only got a serpentine body, and he's only got the two front legs, and he's called a worm, which is a Y. It's spelled WYRM. But the interesting thing that got me looking at this stuff was that it has hell right here, the underworld, and you know, it has the death goddess, and then it had Niflheim. And I was like, Niflheim, I'm like, that sure does sound like Nephilim, you know, from the Bible.
Well, yeah, they're all related to one another, absolutely.
Yeah, so
but you know, hell is I forgot what it's called in the Kabbalah tree of life, but that represents like the root chakra.
Yes.
The earth realm. And you know, the dragon represents the Kundalini that rises from the root chakra up to Asgard.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Asgard. This is the light, you know, this is the light realm, and then this is the darkness. And but the thing is, as above, so below, as within, so without. So when we look at Earth, for example, we look around and we see green everywhere because we're in Midgard, we're in the heart. We are in Earth, which they put the H on the end, you know, and you put the H on the front, it spells heart. So when you look up at the sky, it's blue. So it's like the throat chakra. And then underground, if you were to consider even this model, you have the lava, which is yellow, orange, and red. So could it be that this hell is a real place? I think so. You know, I think that's a huge potential. Especially with what they're saying about all of the underground bases of UFOs and aliens. They're calling them aliens. I think that they're demonic. A lot of them, I think they come from below. And just based on my research and stuff, it just seems like they can't necessarily have a human body unless it's given up to them, unless it's given over to these dark spirits. And so perhaps they've got artificial bodies. I don't know. So it's just something else.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I've heard so many different like theories about all of this stuff, you know. But ultimately, I think it's more of a mental universe. And I'm not saying that there's not other species out there, you know, like in the movie They Live.
I know, right?
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
They said that guy, Rod Piper, he said that was basically a documentary. So
yeah,
I mean,
you know, I just attended a Dr. Bruce Lipton. I don't know if you're familiar with him. An event, like a 4-day event, and you know, everything is energy, right? The whole we live on an energy, but an electrical planet. And you know, he was explaining it really interesting too, that each person has a specific frequency, and according to our frequency, that's what generates this holographic avatar. So, you know, these entities, they're on different frequencies, like different radio channels.
Yes, exactly.
Right. And just like in the movie They Live, right, at the end, what does he do? He goes up to the rooftop and he destroys the broadcast signal.
Yes. Yeah.
So you can see, you know, the real avatar.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
That's what we need right now. We need somebody to go destroy the signal. Maybe they're emitting it off the cell towers. Who knows? You know, we don't know anything.
Right. The whole thing is that I think that the more people awaken to higher states of consciousness, that you're not going to be able to go forward with all these agendas that they want, because people are just not going to go along with it. You know what I mean? Like if people aren't going to follow the rules to the game, because this is what it is, it's a game, right?
Yeah.
They made all these game rules
Yes.
that are written as laws, you know, who made them up? One, and two, like, you don't have to follow the rules to the game. And if like more people understand this and unify it together, then they don't have any power, because no one's willing to play their game anymore.
Yeah, well,
And
it's not all roads. Sorry, no, all roads lead to the Vatican, is what they say. You know, so what I discovered. Are you familiar with Jordan Maxwell?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know,
stuff.
and the whole police it doesn't say police, it says policy, and that they're basically Freemasons that are, you know, are a branch of the Vatican. I'm like, oh yeah.
Right. And the checker like on top of the helmet of and it's an octagon, you know, which is basically like stopping the brain or boxing it in from. It's really interesting, all of that. All of it's fascinating.
All of that stuff, it ties into sacred geometry.
Yeah. So they obviously know how to manipulate the mind, and we are very malleable. We really are. It's unbelievable. I see my teenagers, and they have friends, and you know how easily we become followers, you know, because we're just so easily programmed.
Yes.
And depending on where the information is coming from, or which authority figure is actually placing that information out there, it depends on how many people will actually follow.
Yep.
It's mind-blowing. And you have to be a what do they call it?
Divergent.
There was yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say. That's so funny.
I've been saying I'm divergent.
Yeah.
I'm so divergent.
Yeah.
It's not even funny.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, they don't want you to be a divergent. But I think a lot of people are, I don't know, there's different levels. So like there's different levels. I even see within my family structure, like my extended family, you know, there's I would say most of the family members definitely awake to the whole political thing. Definitely awake to a certain extent about the foods, not so much the vaccines and the conventional medicine as much. Like I have a sister who's a doctor who, you know, has been very programmed and indoctrinated, unfortunately. But yeah, you know, there's different levels of the onion, and not those. I would say most of those people are not spiritually awakened.
Yeah.
So if like you start talking to them about stuff like this, they don't want to hear it, because it's too much information, and they just can't wrap their head around it.
Yeah. Well, they're just not on that frequency. You know?
Not yet. Yeah. Not yet. And I don't know if they are going to be in this lifetime or not, but I think the ability to awaken to the level that we're at right now means that we're ancient souls.
Yes. Oh, I already know. I do
more ancient.
I do past life regression therapy. You know, I do the quantum healing hypnosis and past life.
Like Dolores Cannon.
Yes, I'm level 2. Yeah, I took level 2, but I also took some other hypnosis courses. And yes, so I have been into my own past lives, and absolutely they pertain to this one. You know, it's your subconscious will show you everything you need to know about who you are and who you've been, so that you can know yourself fully. And it is no less than amazing, all of the synchronicities that happen. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I can actually write a movie script based off some of this stuff. And you know, I encourage people to go and have past life regression sessions done, because it is going to then ground you even further into who you truly are. And it's amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing. Yeah, because these energies, right? If we're energy, then and so we're able to tap into past lives. But in addition to that, even your DNA, like, so for example, ancestral karma, right? I was trying to clear myself a lot of ancestral karma. And when I would look back at my grandfathers and great grandfathers' life experience and how they died, right? For example, if you were beheaded, your great grandfather,
Oh, wow.
and then he has a son or a daughter, right? And we're 70 or 80% water, and water holds frequency, right? According to Emoto and all his
Yes, yes.
experiments, right? It holds memory. They even have new chips, like microchips that they're making now, and instead of silicon, it's water.
Yeah.
Water. It's water encapsulated as a microchip. So, which holds like tremendous amount of data. So now that water that's been infused with a specific frequency from a specific life experiences gets transferred generationally into through your DNA. So it happens like on a material level, you know, your physical body, and on energetic level.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that the DNA that we hold is ancient. Our DNA is so old. You know, it's got many, many, many lifetimes that it has traveled through. And here you are, you know, activating it once more. And it holds all the records. And records are actually stored in the bones. Like memories are in the bones because the bones are actually crystalline. And so like we're all crystal bodies, but we're not as crystalline as we will be in the future. So that's what I hear is like, we're going to obtain these more crystalline types of bodies because of our consciousness rising with the universe or one voice. So, and that's the,
and then
you
hear a lot about,
we co-create this world together through consciousness. So eventually, you know, these souls who aren't even awake right now, they're not going to be left behind because the wave of consciousness pulls everyone into the future. They just recycle.
I think a lot of people understand not everything, you know, but I think they understand enough where they're not going to go along with these global agendas. I mean, I don't know. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening.
From what I gather, you know, we're supposed to be experiencing the darkness, because if we didn't know darkness, we wouldn't know our light. And that was one of the messages I got back in 2020 when I was doing my download. Channeling information. But now that I've learned more about where the darkness comes from, which is Saturn is Satan. And are you like familiar with all the names of Saturn and all that, like the Sandman, it's time, it's Father Time, it's death, and Grim Reaper. Well, it's a cube-shaped energy. You know, Earth and Saturn create both cube shapes, and they create time and space together so that we can have this experience. Otherwise it would just be us as spirits, you know, moving around instantaneously. But this is a very slowed down, tactile reality to allow our soul to progress and grow.
That, and to have, I think, also an experience with the five senses, right? Because like when, like an ice cube, right? An ice cube melts, it becomes liquid, it's water, and then it becomes a gas. And it's the same with us. We're a solid, right? And then we become ashes, and then energy. Yeah. But the energy, so if this continues with the new technologies that they have out there that they've implemented in, I would say, 60% of the population, you know, this inhabits you from the ability to access your spirituality. That's what it's all about.
Yes, absolutely. I saw those videos where they were talking about that.
And then you don't get to have this beautiful 3D experience.
Yeah. So, and what I've been trying to
Yeah.
tell people is that the age of Aquarius, or whatever timeline we're on right now, our next challenge is going to be the metaverse and the metaphysical. Which path do you choose?
Right.
You know, and that's the metaverse is going to absolutely trick people, because a lot of people are getting so involved with artificial intelligence to where they don't have much of a social life anymore, because they play video games and their minds are like tied into that realm. They don't know how to socialize because I have a nephew who, you know, he plays a lot of video games. Does he know how to socialize? Not really, you know, because of the way he's been raised into this artificial intelligence world. And so I could see it basically tricking a lot of people who are not grounded in their soul essence of knowing that they are tied to the earth, to be duped then to give over their sovereignty to the artificial intelligence machine, which will be the soul trap for a while, you know, because they're already saying you can have these superhuman capabilities if you have these microchips and all this technology put in to your body. And then you're connected to the Borg. They're going to upload your consciousness to the Google Cloud, and then they can download your consciousness into a sleeve, and you can choose which body you want and all this. I mean, I'm like, it sounds far-fetched, but this is what science has been saying in the background of our world, and nobody's really paying attention. But if you watch, are you familiar with Black Mirror on Netflix?
Yes, I'm familiar with it. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I know generally what it was about. Yeah.
You know what a Black Mirror is, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like the cell phone, right?
Yeah, it's a mirror for scrying into the future.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's for scrying, but it's for usually for black magic or dark magic. That's why it's black, because black is
so is the cell phones.
Yes.
So are the cell phones.
It's the cell phone, it's the computer screen, it's the TVs. They're all black cubes. They're black cubes of Saturn. And black, anything black, is a representation of Saturn's energy or death. So these are all the things, like colors matter. That's the whole alchemy of colors and shapes, and forms, everything. So we're living in this soup, a cosmic soup of chaos energy, because of all the shapes, colors, sounds, like fabrics are synthetic, and it's affecting our fields of energy, because they wanted this chaos magic in the world. They're using black magic for chaos energy, poisoning everything, confuddling the timelines, trying to stop the Great Awakening. And
so it has to be a holistic, right, which also comes from the word holy, holistic, and that is a cleansing of the body, the mind, and the soul.
Yes,
which is in I think every religion, where they have like a 30-40 day fast, right? And you know, you cleanse the body, so you elevate your Wi-Fi signal, your pineal gland, to be able to connect.
Yes.
Connect. And
I tell you, one of the ways that I cleared up the brain fog and everything, there was a doctor named Dr. Jennifer Daniels, and she specialized in treating her patients from candida. You know, it's like a candida overgrowth, basically, which is what is perpetuated in our society through the foods and things. And that's why we've got all these diseases. So she said that she wanted to actually cure people or clear up their candida problem. So she did a research into the past with the brown people of the world, like the communities that had been slaves, or, you know, whatever. She said that they didn't have money for doctors. So she wanted to talk to the people who had been impoverished once upon a time. And she found out that they used turpentine.
Yes.
And my mother even said, you know, absolutely. When she was a little girl, that's where that whole song comes from, when in Mary Poppins. Just a spoonful of sugar. helps the
Sugar.
medicine go down. Yeah, a spoonful of sugar
Right.
helps the medicine go down. They're referring to turpentine. So
Was it turpentine or was it I thought it was castor oil.
well,
Or
with
maybe it was a
turpentine,
combination. It's the
yes, it's
combination
a
maybe of castor
combination.
oil and
Mhm.
turpentine together, I think, right?
Yes, you
Yes.
use like a spoonful of
Yeah.
castor oil and then a spoonful of the sugar with the turpentine on top of it. It gets rid of Candida albicans because it baits the Candida, and they can't stand the
Well, yeah,
turpentine.
you're supposed to put it in the cube, right? I think you're supposed to
Yes,
soak the cube with the turpentine. I
yeah,
had
yeah,
read
yeah.
that was one of the ways to ingest it.
Yes.
And then another way was with castor oil.
Yeah,
I
well,
forgot. Yeah.
from what I could tell is like you use both. You use the castor oil to like help eliminate things, and then the turpentine will like chase the
Well, it
Candida
helps
out of
flush
your
it
body.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Candida is running from the turpentine basically. It tries to escape through different parts of the body, but it will kill it because it's antifungal. And so I did that for like 7 days, like twice a
Did you?
day. I
Okay.
did. I mean,
Because
I thought,
I have organic turpentine from the tree. I've had it for like 6 years.
oh,
I
wow.
was a little bit afraid to take it though.
Oh, no,
I
no,
mean, I
no.
read all great things
Mhm.
about it, but I didn't know anybody personally who actually did the protocol. But
Oh,
you
yes,
have?
absolutely.
Okay.
I've done it. I do it all the time. I just had some today because I had some like cinnamon bun stuff, that from Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Right.
I better take some turpentine because I will feel it. Like I'll get brain fog and stuff from foods and I
Yeah.
can't take it. So I will take turpentine on a regular basis because, all it
How
is,
regular? Like 7 days you said you did
I did
straight?
it. I did it for 7 days straight, but I think you could actually do it for more because all it is distilled sap from the pine trees.
Yeah. Yes. It's sap from the
And
pine tree, right?
how bad can that really be? As long as you're not
Yeah.
adding distillates, like all these other chemicals to it, which
Right.
from the
Yeah.
hardware store you would have to be careful because they add cobalt to it so that
Yes.
people
Yeah.
won't drink it.
Right.
But if you order the kind that you can ingest, absolutely, I take a teaspoon of it. So,
Right.
but you're
I'm gonna
supposed to
try it.
flush with water. You're supposed to drink a lot of water.
It doesn't go bad,
No,
right?
no, 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 no.
I've had mine from like 2000, I don't know, 15, 16.
Yeah,
But
no,
it's,
it's
it's
perfect.
unopened, but I
Yeah,
have it. I'm
yeah.
gonna take
Oh my
it.
gosh, listen, I'm serious.
I'm
After
nervous
seven
to
days,
take it, but I'm gonna take
oh
it.
no, 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 no. And you can do it on an
Okay.
empty stomach, whatever. Just be sure to drink a lot of water because you got to flush the Candida out. But after 7 days, wow, I gained all this clarity. I didn't have brain fog. This is why people are getting eye diseases and all these other things. They get the
I've
cataracts.
seen it as a cancer protocol. That's what
Yes.
I've seen before.
Yeah, because it comes from the
Yeah.
trees. And the trees, plants are very important to our world. They contain the four elements. Like they've got their roots
That's
are
the first medicine. That's the first medicine.
yeah,
Conventional medicine is only 100 years old. That's the new medicine. That's the quackery right there.
exactly. Snake oil, yes, absolutely, because
Yeah.
they're using petroleum to make those things. And people have no idea
They
that
take a little bit of the real medicine, which are the herbs, and then they put compounds in with it,
yes,
like all these
yes,
chemical compounds.
exactly. It's all poison, really, because it's
Yeah.
making the body acidic. And we've got to get back in balance with the earth, which is green, If we eat the live plants, then we heal the body. But if you're just taking this pill and eating a bunch of junk, you're not going to heal yourself. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. 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 So that's definitely the first step
Yeah.
to clean the body, to help, awaken.
Yes. Well, that's
So
part of the whole thing is like we have
yeah.
to purify our body. So let me tell you, I was taking Kundalini yoga a couple of years ago. I took it and it started activating me. Like the second class session that I had, my
Yeah.
Kundalini started activating.
It doesn't take much. Yeah.
No. So, but I was compounding other modalities and things. So not only the pranayama and the Kundalini, but I was earthing and I was cleansing. I know all kinds of different holistic things, but I was sun gazing.
That's part of the whole, yeah, yes.
And
yes.
I was, my subconscious told me to anoint myself with oil
With
and
oil.
sea salt.
Yeah.
Combined, a combination. So I used grapeseed oil and sea salt, like the real greasy stuff, not the
Yeah.
stuff they dry. But I'm telling
Right.
you, like I was activating.
Yeah. 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 And they work with frequencies, both with the mantra frequencies, and then the bowls, the Tibetan bowls, and yeah, all of that. It's amazing. The
Oh
whole
yeah. Well, I tell you,
whole, yeah.
I wish we could clean up this country more to where we could have clean food and clean air and clean water. I know it's going to take, it's going to take everybody's participation and awareness on this level to clean things up. But we could do it very quickly because are you familiar with Marcel Vogel?
Marcel Vogel, you said? No.
Marcel Vogel. So Marcel
No.
Vogel worked for IBM for 27 years, and he developed the computer monitors and things that we use today. So he developed the LCD screens and things through crystal technology.
Yes.
He was actually involved with the consciousness of plants before that. So he was actually part of that documentary, The Secret Life of Plants. He was actually working with the plants during that time when
with what's his name? O'Reilly or O'Brien or something.
Yeah. So
was the guy who did that whole testing with the plants.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to show that they had consciousness, right?
Exactly.
With the frequency like 350 miles away, and that whole experiment.
Yeah.
Right?
All of that stuff. That
But
Marcel
all technology has crystals in it. Watches, everything, every
Yes.
single electronical device has.
Yes. Exactly, because that's what silicone is. It's crystals. It's sand. It's
And so does our pineal gland, right?
Yes.
They say
And so
crystals in it.
So this guy studied crystals to the point that he found out what you can do. Like you can heal people's pain instantly with the crystal, and you can be anywhere in the world because time doesn't exist. So he could use the crystal. You focus and meditate with the crystal using, because he did the transcendental meditation. He went to India and did all this stuff where he did the spiritual work, and then he brought it into the lab to work with the plants and with the crystals eventually. So he does this meditation where he releases the memory of the crystal because it holds unlimited amounts of memory, and then charges it. And then he puts his consciousness of love into it, and then he sends it out to the person who needs to be healed. And he would work with the people based on stuff that he had found in the lab. He would work with his crystals, and he would heal people of many different things and make things disappear like that. So, just showing what the quantum reality is. But he said, if you spiral water around a crystal or whatever liquid, after the crystal's been charged with love, he said they did an experiment where they were actually taking a really junky, low quality wine, and they were spiraling it around the crystal clockwise 10 times in the lab. He said they did 200.
And they were able to cleanse it.
It restructures it to be a fine wine. Yes. They did so many tests. They did like 250,000 gallons of wine, throughout however many years. But this is what we can do with water. All we do is just go, and our consciousness, boom, and it's clear from everything.
Well, we're water, right? We're 70 or 80% water.
But that's all it takes is for us, because the crystal actually gives off a piezoelectric charge, so it kind of amplifies our intentions. But we could just go. This is why holy water is a thing, is because people give their intentions over the water, but they don't realize it's them.
Yes. It's fascinating, isn't it? That is exactly what it is. And these old monasteries that would actually chant, these frequencies into the water and make it holy water. And then, people would go and they would drink it, and it would change would cure them of things and all this stuff. It's these centers though too, like all of these ancient churches and ancient various different sites like the pyramids of Giza, the Parthenon, they're all built on top of not only electromagnetic lines of the earth, or even multiple electromagnetic lines of the earth, but there's also aquifers underneath these structures, just like Tesla's tower out in Stony Brook. That tower was on top of not only a ley line, but there was those water aquifers underneath it, like the same concept with like Niagara Falls. And so that was all energy. Anyway, these were healing centers. All of these ancient churches were healing centers. You know, you would go and you would chant, and you know, because the Gregorian Pope also changed the original Byzantine chants. You know, there were originally 8 octaves, and he switched it to, I think it was 9 octaves.
Oh wow, that's
the
weird.
Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, and that was on purpose, kind of like how they also changed all instruments to be tuned from 432 to 440 to bring it like slightly out of harmony. But even like those motifs, those geometrical motifs that they have outside of a lot of these cathedrals, like Notre Dame, more the Gothic cathedrals, I want to say, and each one of those is a cymatic. The cymatic of what that church, I don't know if it's like the ley lines that they're on that create that specific frequency that then they put into the stained glass window motif to represent that specific frequency. You know, but even those churches, a lot of them had organ players at one point. Like those.
There's a reason why they had a reason why it's called organs, because it actually was healing the organs.
And not only that, like that era, right? From, I want to say, right, we had the Spanish Inquisition. Well, we had the fall of the Byzantium Empire in 1453, and then shortly after that, I think in 1492, we had the Spanish Inquisition, right? And then we had Pope Gregory in the 15th century. So like all that knowledge though went to Tartaria, which is Russia, right? And we had like all of these amazing architectural structures that it got erected that they can't even replicate today.
I know.
Like those cathedrals are so intricate, so amazingly intricate and done in marble and all. And so these people actually, I believe, had higher IQs than we do today.
Well, they had higher ability.
You know, a lot of, better technology, better everything. And I think we've been completely lied to and misled. And then we had, you know, the French Revolution, and then after that was the Russian Revolution, and then they killed the last Tsar in Russia, right? And we went into World War I, and then World War II, like 25 years after that. So like they just cleansed everything, and they rebuilt the educational system, and you know, they changed so much. It was gradual.
Well,
but really.
It's all by design. Like, it's the design that they wanted to implant. They wanted us, they tricked all of us into fighting ourselves, you know, fighting each other. They're still tricking us into fighting each other and being divided. And, you know, I guess you know the history of Lord Mayor Rothschild at the Vatican being one of the accountants for the Vatican, and his 5 sons that he taught.
The mayor. Yeah, he was the mayor, which by his name was Amschel Mayer. Before it was Meyer, which is mayor, but and then it was changed to Rothschild.
So Red Shield. I mean, all that stuff is like, it's all been by design. So every war has been a religious war And what they do, because it's black magic, the soldiers of wars are sacrifices to certain gods. And it's, what's the god? Well, the colors that they wear, those different color badges and things, those determine the god that they're sacrificed to. And that's all, part of Jordan Maxwell. He talks about and all of that stuff. But
well,
it's all
not only
into
the sacrifice though, but it's also to get rid of our prime males.
Yes. Well, that's what they're doing now with the way
to do it.
Yeah, the gender bending right now is to demane the lion, so to speak, to make it less masculine. This is in the plastics. They've actually shown that some of the pharmaceuticals and the plastics have been able to change the sexes of frogs and amphibians in general. Like they can just spontaneously change sexes. So obviously we have an agenda afoot to demane the lion, take the masculinity out of the world.
But they're also making the women, the young girls, into very promiscuous, and women in particular have only have a capability of pair bonding only once in a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not good.
What's happening? They've tried every angle to stop what's happening right now. And the problem is you can't stop frequencies. You can't. So we're at a frequency war. And it's a war for our minds now, because now that they see that they're not going to be able to stop the frequencies, of what's happening, they're going to try to trap people based on their free will, giving up their free will to the machine. And that's the metaverse aspect. That's what's coming next in our next challenge. We're going to see, it's been prophesized there's going to be 1,000 years of peace, after everything's been discovered, and oh my gosh, these world leaders, whatever. There's going to be 1,000 years of peace, and then we're going to start kind of going into the next dark aspect for the age and cross over into the next one. This is just, it's ebb and flow. It's like sine waves, it goes up and down. It's the red shift and blue shift. So, and it's just going to continue. But the one thing we're supposed to do is gain enough awareness about our own consciousness and control of our consciousness in the astral plane and this type of line of thinking. This is what I gather from all of the spiritual things that I've we're supposed that's where we're at. To gain enough to where we can choose to either be here or not. That's really what I've sort of gathered from a lot of information that I've been collecting from the different subject matter of hermetics and occult knowledge of all kinds, is that our spiritual evolution is what can be our salvation, so to speak, of awareness of ourselves, how we can truly create heaven on earth inside of ourselves. It's since, we are the ones who have to change ourselves on the inside in order to change the outside, our external world. And
absolutely. Yeah.
So together, we're going to create the change we wish to see. But at the same time, diving into the astral plane with astral projection and, Kundalini awakenings and this natural path can help us to gain greater insight into the spirit realm while we're here. And then, being able to choose, because I think that's free will is always on the table as one of the laws of the universe, and that whole thing about cause and effect, what you put out is what you
don't think it would be like more of a parallel reality? Like a parallel reality? Like even right now, don't you feel like you're living in a parallel reality, right? Because here you are, you're so knowledgeable about all this stuff. And so you're operating on a higher state of consciousness, and you the person standing right next to you in the street is not.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're living in a 5-dimensional reality while they're still living in the matrix.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's like a parallel reality
Yeah.
right now.
And what I get a sense of too, since they've determined in science even that all of the different past, present, future are all right here, and they're like a book. It's like pages, they overlap each other like pages of a book, where if you have technology that can phase in and out of the frequencies of what we see, in our immediate environment on the screen, then you can actually traverse into what they would call time, and interdimensionally call it time travel. That's kind of how it works.
Right.
So those,
but more all in the mental, right? And the mental energy bodies that we have.
Even in Egypt right now, like ancients are having their time there, but we see it as they're gone because they're on a different plane of existence from where our awareness is, but based on our frequencies. So it's a fascinating thing when you really go, oh my gosh, that's why we see ghosts. That's why people see, phantoms, is because they're living in their timeline.
Yes. Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's all, we live in such a weird place.
But it's fascinating. When you get to this level though, you're like, oh wow, there is more to this thing, besides just working and existing. So I mean, for me, it's more enriching to know that there's so much more to discover. And I'm just so happy that
so much more. It's magical. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And to manifest your own reality and to realize that you are the magic and you're the magician, and the world will actually bend to your will. And that the hermetics is just amazing. So, doing the breathing of the skin, you're doing the skin breathing with the elements. And I tell you, there's some weird stuff happening with I have a candle that's like a battery operated thing. You can like turn it on with a remote. Yeah. The batteries are dead. The batteries are completely dead. But I'll just be sitting there kind of in my own head, and all of a sudden I'll see it just flicker. And I'm like, I saw that, like, was that me or someone else? I don't know. Just weird, I'm like, okay, how did that happen if the batteries are dead?
Yeah, well, those 7 laws, those 7 universal laws, the Kabbalion, the Hermetics, whatever you want to call them, they're all energy laws. Mm-hmm. It's all about energy.
Yes.
All energy. It's amazing.
Yes, it is. It's a wonderful thing. But I am actually doing hermetics. I have some other people that I do hermetics with every other week. We have a class on Sunday and we talk about the hermetics in Franz Barden's work, the initiation into hermetics. Are you familiar with Franz Barden?
Yeah, I'm familiar with more of the ancient stuff. Mm-hmm. But more of the ancient stuff I stuck to.
Yeah. Well, he kind of compiled everything and compressed it for like an average person. So it is one of the more effective series of books, I think, because he took a lot of knowledge. He was actually held captive by the Nazis for 3 years for his knowledge. He was part of the Great White Brotherhood. Right. And they released him after 3 years, but he has these books, and it talks about breathing in the elements and being able to meditate with the elements and do all this stuff in order to start activating and acclimating your mind to this whole process of the elements within and without. So it's fascinating, very fascinating. It's all alchemy of
the elements, meaning like the 5 elements, like water, earth,
yes,
air.
Yes,
5 elements. Right.
So yeah, the main foundation is you have to be able to sit. The very first exercise is being able to sit and observe your thoughts. But then, after a time, you're supposed to be able to sit with no thoughts for 1 hour. And you do
that's meditation.
Yes, yeah. It's 5 minutes a day. So you just got to clear your mind and you sit and focus on no thoughts, basically just listening. And after that, then you move on to breathing in the elements, and you begin with one element and you breathe it in. You start with a certain number of breaths, and then you exhale that element back out of your body, because he says you should not leave that inside your body at all.
Right. And then what, do you feel like you have aha moments after that, like more easily?
Yeah. So what it is you're getting your mind to truly feel the magic of the elements, like you become that element. Like you've got to make your imagination be so real that you can literally feel the fire or the water, the coldness of the water, the wetness, all of that. Like you got to truly feel that all around you, to the point where it actually changes the body temperature inside your body. This is what obviously the monks do. But I'm sure there's some other aspects, because the Kundalini is an aspect too, where you're actually working with the elements of the root chakra and rising that fire. You're raising that fire through the movements of fire, because moving is the yang principle of life. And then obviously the mudras are important, because they also represent elements. Each finger is a different element.
Well, it's also connected to different parts of the brain.
Yes. The body.
And if you look at all of the icons in religious centers, they're all of the saints and Jesus, they're all doing a mudra.
Yes, exactly.
All of them are doing a mudra.
They are.
Yeah. It's compartmentalized. This information has been compartmentalized in various different religions, but it's really amazing. And so they call it also like the breaking of the veil, right? The breaking of the alchemical veil. And once you accomplish this, right, you're breaking this. So how do they have this in religious ceremonies? Well, you lift the veil of the bride when you marry her, right? The Jews break the glass because they're breaking the veil. So the representation is in the breaking of the glass. Greeks also break plates. And then it's also the yin and yang, because the groom wears black and the bride wears white. And they do ritualistic practices, like a lot to do with threes. You'll circle the altar 3 times. It's amazing.
Everything.
It's amazing. So like all of that the real knowledge has been completely stolen. And hidden. And the true meaning is non-existent. Like even the priests, right, in the Catholic religion. In the Catholic religion, not the Christian priests are allowed to get married, but the Catholic priests are not, and they're supposed to stay celibate. So because you're not, but ultimately where that come from, that came from not releasing that orgasmic energy, which is the energy that's generated in, like, for example, Kundalini, that you're supposed to rise up to the crown. And then all of them wear hats, right? All priests wear hats or yarmulkes or whatever, some kind of headdress, right? The Indians wear this, they all wear this, sheiks, and that, and the veils, women, nuns wear the veils, everything. And that's to keep the electricity from leaving the crown chakra or negative energy entering the crown chakra. It's so interesting.
All of it.
Because you can't say that this is all woo stuff. Like there's a lot of it that's very real. Very real. And they're like the magicians. They're like the witches.
Exactly.
Right? Because they're wearing like this whole like wizard-like
robes,
right?
The
attire, the robe with the staff. And it has all of these crystals on it.
But they wanted everybody else to be afraid of all of that, because that is the modus operandi of the world. Is what magic is. Not magic though. Our thoughts are scalar waves. This is what science says. Our thoughts are scalar waves that react with the tetragrammaton, or the flower of life. And the flower of life holds all the geometries, every single geometry in the world.
Platonic solids.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
which
so
comes from Plato's,
yeah.
platonic solids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you
So
have Plato's cave, which is the same representation, um, where uh, you isolate self for X amount of days, and then right, it's all about awakening the pineal gland. That was the whole point of the cave.
mhm.
That was the whole point of the cave, is to have like an abrupt awakening of the third eye. And
Mhm.
that was by keeping you in darkness. And then once you're out in the light, you see things clearer.
Exactly.
You see things clearer.
Exactly.
And Pythagoras' school is the same thing. Pythagoras, he went to the mystery schools of Egypt and India. And then he came back to his homeland, and he opened up a school, like a mystery school. And they I think they were able to filter through a lot of this stuff though too, using numerology.
Mhm.
And he started the White Brotherhood. That's where the White Brotherhood comes from. And this is why also the Freemasons, when they get to be, I think, at the 33rd or 32nd degree of Masonry, they have the Pythagorean theorem,
Mhm.
as an emblem that they get and
Yeah.
they wear.
Yeah, because it's all magical arts. They teach them and the lower levels of Freemasonry, they start getting these initiates basically into the rituals, just ritual practice. They don't even know what they're doing, but it's like basic
Yeah,
because I have some of the books. I just
they have no idea what they're doing. Yeah.
no, but they have no idea what it even entails. But that's why I'm like, okay, we're going to demystify a lot of this stuff and decode it, because Freemasonry is three masonry, and the Mason, the matter or mother earth, and the sun impregnates the earth with his light to then give birth to all life on earth. That's what Mason is. And so this is what my subconscious was like telling me one morning, like 2 weeks ago. It's going, hey, get up and do the 33rd degree angle. Just go get a protractor. And I was like, well, I don't really have a protractor. I'm like, I haven't had one of those since high school, but I have a speed square for doing stuff with construction, So I got that out because it's basically the same thing. And I was like, okay, 33rd degree. I'm like, what kind of star am I making? And it made the pentagram. 33rd degree angle of all the triangles together makes the pentagram star, which is used in magical practice. But it's the spirit is the fifth up here, which is the ether, and then you have the four elements. And so
even when you do your cross, you're actually making a pentagram. You're going up, down, and then right to left.
Yeah.
And if you do the draw it, it's a pentagram.
Yeah. So, and all of this stuff is in alchemy. Again, every bit of it is part of alchemy. So the upright is the fire.
The hermetic. That's why they were killed.
Yeah, I mean, this is all knowledge. And the cross,
because the church,
is the season. Not only is it the seasons, it's of the four elements, the four seasons, and the four cardinal directions. Yes. So that's where we get crucified on the cross, because we are in a reincarnation trap. Basically, we get crucified in the four seasons, on the the four elements and all that stuff. But get this is something I've been questioning, but since I've been looking into Saturnian energy, and anything in the shape of a square or anything cubed shape represents Saturnian energy, or Earth, but mostly Saturn. Now, when we die, they put us in a box. In that box, we never touch the earth. And I was like, there's a reason why they used to, especially Vikings and people like that, they would create a funeral, pyre and put them out on the water, or they would burn the body or whatever. I'm like, that's a purification thing, something with the elements. And it dawned on me that with putting bodies in boxes and putting them in the ground, it allows someone in the future potentially to be a necromancer or to use necromancy on the body, because it leaves all the DNA and all the access to the spirit wherever it is, because the spirit's always connected to the genetics, always.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Right.
oh, wow. And I've been hearing, you know, from this other channel, they had found the body of Nimrod. I heard about this on the news, and they were taking the body from Iraq, I think, to somewhere. They were transporting it.
Right.
So I was like, well, obviously, I guess through necromancy and stuff, maybe they're trying to either use the DNA to, you know, just make these giants or make some sort of hybrid from the DNA that way, or maybe they're trying to do necrominicon or whatever it is, necrominicon or what, I don't know, just necromancy, to resurrect this giant called Nimrod. And I'm like, holy crap, you know, yeah, we've got black magic practitioners left over from Egypt and Alexandria and basically Atlantis that are practicing their dark magical arts to try to subvert the world to their cause and their purpose. This is in the, do you know about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, in there it talks about how they fell in their consciousness, because you have to know black and white magic. If you're even going to be a white magician, you have to know both paths, and you walk the center line, you walk down the middle, having the knowledge of both. But the people, there was some faction of man, or, you know, whatever you want to call those people, whatever they were, they decided to use the dark magic to gain more abilities and more power. And
right.
that's the problem.
So the black magic, the way I see it, is just another method of bringing up this bioelectrical kundalini energy, because what they would do is they use orgies, right, or Wicca, which is sex magic, and they would bring up these energies. But like, what's it, Rasputin? Did you ever hear of Rasputin?
Yeah.
He was the advisor to the last czar of Russia, right? And his wife, Alexandra, and they had 5 kids or 4 kids, I think, and they were all girls except for one, right? Alexander, their only son and heir to the throne, but he was a hemophiliac. And they couldn't cure him. They couldn't, you know, they tried all these different modalities. And he was quite well known, Rasputin, within, I guess, Siberia. And she called for him to come. And he had these energies. And he would actually do like hands-on healing, where he would stop the bleeding of the little boy, and he would aid him in that way. And it was the only way that they got him to stop bleeding, was through his energies, through the healing. Well, how did he develop these energies in his body that were able to do these self-healing things? And if you read up on him, he was into, you know, black magic, and what's black magic? Black magic is basically using like your orgasm, and not to fully climax, right? Because this is the strongest energy that we have, right? This is what creates babies, that energy. And so he would use that energy, and he would harness it by not releasing it, but arousing himself by having multiple partners in these orgies. And he would lift up his electromagnetic energy. And that's why it's called black magic. Of course, there's even more horrific ways of harnessing that energy, you know, through violence. But that's the difference.
Well, the thing that the definition that I get from white magic and black magic is used to harm others. And that's what truly determines whether it's black or white. The white magic is actually used to benefit people because we're all magicians. We just practice magic in different ways. We're just not aware of it too. Most people have no idea. Because again, it's just the consciousness. And we're all alchemists because people cook, people make teas, people, herbalists and all that. We're all alchemists of different forms. I'm an alchemist of colors, I'm an artist.
People who are awake.
Yes. So you can see yourself as an alchemist, but for the black magic, it's usually done in opposition of good, basically. So it harms others. And this is what has been happening in the world, that they avoid any karmic backlash by getting someone else to do their dirty work, so they don't get that karma, of cause and effect. So that's what I gather from all of that. But the sex magic is
that part I don't understand at all, how that's even possible.
For them to that's avoid
karma. I just don't see how that's possible. You can't. I don't see anybody. They think that they avoid the karma.
Oh yeah, they think they do.
Or maybe they minimize the karma, but the karma is there.
Oh, it's always going to be there, but I think it's because it's tiered. But that's what that whole pyramid thing too is. You have the very topmost tier of hierarchy of power, and then that gets disseminated down different tiers to then go to the level of the lackeys who go out and actually perform the acts of destruction, destroying people's lives, or killing people, whatever it is. And that's where the immediate So that's all it is. It's like they try to channel it down, all these chains of command.
They do, but the people at the top actually use the worst black magic on their agents in order to keep them in check.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like they have to have dirt on them, so they make them participate in acts of
that's like Hollywood, that's what Hollywood is like a big black magic cult. And most people get lured in by the money and the lights and the glitz and glamour and fame and fortune kind of thing. But then when they get in, they sign the contracts. The contracts are binding. So that point, that's when they subvert the person and make them into a perverted version of themselves. And then they get hooked. And they, drugs.
Even their agents though are the worst.
Yes.
These directors and producers, I mean, if you read up on like what they've done and what they do and what they continue to do, I mean, and they're all part of, like, they're right up there.
They're in the club.
They're
the
all
Saturnian club. And that's what it basically it's Saturnian. That's what Satan is in that whole.
I don't know, but there's so few of them. There's so few of them in comparison to the majority of us.
Yes, I know. Well, the thing is, what we're waking up, so it's about to be our game. Game on is what I got to say.
I think so. I don't see people going and running to go fight their wars, because I think everybody knows it's fake.
Yeah, well, people are waking up to that.
It's always been fake.
Yes.
It's always been fake. All
every
wars.
Single one of them. Yes.
It's I see people waking up regardless of what the Vedic calendar says.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. I mean, we just don't know the timeline that we're in. That's the whole thing. It's like they've changed and altered the numbers. In Veda, they say that the spring equinox is on a different date than what we know over here in the Western, part.
That's because probably they go by the Julian calendar still.
Well, they actually had
which is the Julius Caesar.
Yeah,
Julius Caesar's calendar.
Yeah, they had even a different calendar. She named the kind of calendar we went by, and I was like, well, I've never heard of that one. But so the spring equinox, that's what determines the age that we go into. And if we could just figure out again how to determine the spring equinox of the year, then we could get back on board. And do you know that the fascinating thing is I've been to Harbor Freight, you know, and that's just a construction place. But do you know they sell sextants in there? For $20, you can buy a sextant, which is what is used to determine the stars, navigate the stars with a boat. And I'm like,
Oh, nice.
I think I'm gonna buy one and start learning how to use it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's how they navigated back then.
Yes.
Yeah. Amazing, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah, all this stuff is fascinating. But I think, yeah, we're I think the majority of us who are been awake for a while have realized that, you know, it's all about alchemy of the self, and
yes.
it's spiritual, and to just completely eliminate all fear, because the fear is the black magic
Yes, exactly.
that's on the scribes, on the scryer, the black screens.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now, this is so I don't know how much you know about radionics and sigil magic, but all these shapes are emitting fields of energy, you know, in a 3D field that we can't see because, you know, we don't have the eyes to see the energy of it, of the different shapes. So all of these different shapes that are all around us are emitting all of these different frequencies. And that's why the cathedrals and the star forts are emitting beautiful frequencies.
Star forts. You know about the star forts.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. So, but they were surrounded by water.
Yes.
Because they were using the four elements, and they knew.
Well, I think they were also purifying the water.
Yes,
those star forts.
Yes.
I think they were purifying the water also.
But it was emitting beautiful frequencies based on those shapes, because they're sacred geometric patterns that radiate in a 3D field of energy.
Yeah.
And so what have they been doing with the geomancy of Washington, D.C.? You know, they were trying to like subvert everything. As usual.
Yeah. That's all on a ley line too, and all of that.
Well, that's not even the real capital. You know, that wasn't the capital of the United States originally.
No. Yeah.
So, and even here in Georgia, they moved our state capital to Atlanta. So are all the states, have they all been changed? That's a question.
That's interesting. That's it.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
Because it's a grid.
Yeah.
Right. If you look at it from a bird's eye view, right, it's an electrical grid. Like it looks like a motherboard of a computer.
It does.
And so then the electrical circuits would be the Earth's electromagnetic lines. So maybe, you know, maybe they reconfigured everything.
Yes, absolutely.
So they would have more control over this holographic program.
Yes.
Right. But because then if you look at like more ancient sites like the pyramids of Giza or the Parthenon, those would be you know, prior lifetime of a grid, of some kind of program, and it's just like layer upon layer upon layer of fixing it or altering it. But even the beautiful architecture in India, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Like the intricate little details on all
it's
of their
all done by the mind.
Mind blowing.
All by the mind. This is what Hermetics teaches, you know, especially the initiation into Hermetics with Franz Barden stuff. He's teaching you basically that your mind can work with the ether, because the ether is waiting for the commands of the mind, and it is malleable.
Yeah.
And once we learn about the elements inside of us and how to manipulate the ones outside of us, we can then create with our minds just from the ether alone. So all of those statues and all of that intricate architecture was people standing around meditating together, putting layers on these buildings. And I'm like, people, they didn't have chisels. They were using the power of the mind and the ether to make this stuff. It's in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I'm like, I'm like, that'd be so amazing.
Even well, I was an art history major, and I I studied abroad for a year, and I went to like all of these Duomos and museums like all over Europe. But you would, I would go in and I would see like these beautiful, intricate marble statues, like the Fisher net statue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can't make that. It was almost as if they had like 3D printing. It's almost as if they had 3D printing. Like it's just unbelievable.
Yes,
it's really unbelievable. And then they what do they sell us? They sell us that somebody made this with a chisel and hammer.
And it's always Roman, like they
like
always have an Italian,
like a Santa Claus story.
I mean, it's so ridiculous. It's like, why is it always Greco-Roman? It's not Greco-Roman. It was Atlantean Lumerian. That's what the reality is. Do you know about what they're finding in the Grand Canyon right now?
Before you're saying, before ancient, in the Grand Canyon, I know that there's ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs and there's some Greek in that too. I mean, who's to say that this wasn't Atlantis, America?
It's just they had a great war and they zapped each other with these weapons of Indra, with Indra weapons, and they were blasting each other, and then blast a big gouge in the ground. They basically destroyed, I guess it's Lemuria. There's actually somebody who's doing research. He wrote a book. I don't remember his name right now, but if you look up, America is Lemuria. That's why it sounds so similar. I'm like, what? And he points out at where the Grand Canyon is. He starts pointing out all of the, the Sphinx and all this other stuff out there. And I'm like, hey.
Well, it was actually called, I think, wasn't it called Columbia at first?
I don't know.
It was called Columbia. Yeah, it was called Columbia, which means woman. Just like the number 13 represents the woman.
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
I don't know. We're
the hidden, the hidden link on purpose.
Oh yeah,
is the female aspect.
Yes, of course.
The female aspect.
Yep. Yeah. They didn't want people to know about that, but we were going through that whole yang cycle of energy, and now the divine female is coming back. So the yin energy is starting to come back into society and starting to come together so that we can heal the earth. And then by the time we get over to Virgo, it'll be full blown, female energy that's healing the planet. Everybody's coming back into balance and alignment with each other. Once we get to Gemini, that's what sets off the golden age. And, the symbol for Gemini are two parallel lines, which means complete equality and complete balance and harmony with everything. And then amazing stuff happens. And that's when they start creating all this beautiful stuff again in the world.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know where I read this, but I read 2029. It was supposed to be like some really crazy, amazing things happening in 2029.
I'm sure it's going to be very significant because something about 2030. They needed everybody to be in the Borg by 2030. And it's like all the timelines, there's like a timeline convergence. They can't try to alter timelines anymore. So it's like a timeline convergence where all roads lead to the truth, basically, of everything.
Yeah. Well, it's crumbling. People have lost faith in the political system. They've lost faith in the medical system. They've lost faith in the educational system. So I think their world is crumbling.
Yes.
It's inevitable.
It is. But it'll retreat. Darkness retreats back and then it comes back out, and then it's always this ebb and flow.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, my goodness, we've been talking for almost 2 hours. That's amazing.
Yeah. I
don't want to keep you too long. I know that you probably have other things to do, but oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk to you though. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I'm excited that you reached out to me too, for sure.
It's so cool. I'll let you know when I upload this too. I'll be sending you, an email with the thing, but I'm going to put all of your information in here. If there's anything else you want to share, just, please, by all means, You can either, talk about something now, or you can just send me an email and I'll be happy to add it to the video. But it's just amazing how synchronicity just goes, hey, you need to talk to this person. And that's why I reached out. I was like, oh my gosh, she knows a lot. Let me talk to her.
I think the most important thing right now is for people to clean themselves, or try to keep themselves as clean as possible.
Yes.
Because we're always being bombarded. And I think once you do that, because I think that's what happened to me, is that I was health conscious, I was doing the juice drinks, and I started taking iodine. And I think the iodine is really what cleared out my pineal gland, and then opened the doors to spirituality or higher levels of consciousness for me, like the next tier.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's a process, someone who's eating junk food and is using fluoride toothpaste and taking medications is not gonna wake up.
No,
it just doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't help
on any level.
We have to become light. Yeah, our cells need more light. And the most light you can get is from the plant medicines, plants in general, live plants, live foods, the living foods, as much as possible, that don't have, GMO and all this stuff. So yeah, I mean, believe me, I've been on this road for a while, but there's so much. And it's really about, how connected people want to be. Do they truly want to be connected, or do they want to continue to eat junk and destroy the temple, so to speak? It's all personal choice. It's all free will.
So let me ask you on a more personal level, when you became spiritually awakened, did it like flip your world upside down?
I wouldn't say it flipped me upside down, because I've always been a person who has questioned everything. I've been through dark night of the soul multiple times throughout my life, through each big change in my life. I've gone through dark night of the soul. And I've always had this connection to something greater, because when I was like 14 or 15,
right,
I had a moment. Now, I was not spiritual or awakened or anything, but I had a moment where
you were more clean.
My inner voice said, you're going to be a part of something very big on the horizon of your life, but it's nowhere near now, And I was like, huh. And then I just went about my day. I was like, that's a weird thought. And I just went on, it's like a magnetic, something just stopped me and just went, right. And I said, okay, well, cool. And I just forgot about it. But then later, as stuff started happening, I was like, oh, this is what that big event was, with all this awakening and the things that are happening. And I'm like, this is amazing. So I've just always been open to this progression in my own life. But when I found QHHT, I was really questioning it. It was about 2015. And I was looking at Dolores Cannon's videos, and I was going, what is this? I'm like, this is fascinating, but is this real? So I watched it for about a year and a half or so. And then in 2017 is when I said, you know what? I'm going to take the class. So I took the class, and I was just blown away at even the first few hypnosis sessions I did for people. And then when I had it done to myself, it blew me away, because as a child, I used to have these nightmares of falling from a high place and drowning. And I thought everybody had these kinds of dreams, so I just never even spoke about it. But then once I had my first hypnosis session, it started coming out. And basically, I threw myself from a cliff, and it was onto some rocks, and it was into the ocean. So I was like, whoa, that's.
So did you do the past life regression on yourself, or someone did it for you?
No, because in the beginning, you're always sharing sessions with like other practitioners that contact you, or you contact them, and you say, hey, would you like to trade, sessions? And then you practice on each other. And then, when you're doing another class too, you go and you take, sessions from other people. You're just trading. that's kind of how I started getting the information out of myself. And it has just been mind blowing, really, because it has allowed that whole nightmare to even stop. Like, I don't have that anymore. And I came to the realization that that was my warrior life. But then as I've had other sessions, there's been more stuff revealed. Like, I was in Alexandria as a seeress. I had a basin of water in my temple, and I was doing different things for the pharaoh at that time. I mean, it's just been weird. And the things that were associated with that, like playing the game, I don't know, are you familiar with the Assassin's Creed games? They're not for
yeah.
Well,
yes.
I
and the
love
movie, and the movie's even better.
I didn't even
Did you
watch
ever
the movie.
Oh, you're gonna
haven't
love
seen
the
it,
movie.
but I played the games because I love the environments. I just love the enriching environments, you know. And so I have Origins. And I had been playing that game, and I found Alexandria, you know, and I was like riding through the docks of Alexandria, and they had warehouses with the Greek statues. And I was like, oh, I've always been fascinated by Michelangelo. Never knew why, you know. But as soon as I got into this warehouse, I'm riding the horse, you know, in the game, and I'm going through this warehouse, and I'm looking at the left, looking at all these beautiful statues, and all of a sudden, like, this overwhelming emotion came over me, a sensation of a longing, like a longing to be in a timeline that I could not go back to. And it made me so overwhelmingly, you know, sorrowful. I started crying over a video game, and I was confused. This was before a session about Alexandria. And I'm going, why am I crying over this video game? It's so ridiculous, you know? So then I had the hypnosis session. And then, you know, that was several months after that experience. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I bet my temple is in that video game. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I might know where it is in the video game. So I went into Alexandria again, and they have what they call a temple. I believe it was the Library of Alexandria that was at the highest point of these steps. And sure enough, at the base of those steps was my temple. And everything that was in my hypnosis session about the stone street, the temple with the two black columns, the really high roof at my temple, and the stairway going up to that very high place was all there, with a low stone wall across the street. You couldn't make this stuff up. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like blown away. I'm like, how do these people know this? They are time travelers. These people who make these video games, I'm telling you, they are from some other timeline, or they're, you know, interdimensionally
tapping in
to get the information for the games. Because I mean, I didn't know that much about the game to know that that would absolutely be there.
Well, I think also the programmers, everything in the work is all compartmentalized.
Yes.
And it's given to various different people. So they're all doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but they're not as sure exactly, you know, like not one person has the whole picture, just like doctors, right? You have a foot doctor, a gastro doctor, a brain doctor, right? They compartmentalize everything instead of the whole.
Yes,
treating the whole body. And the same thing with lawyers, right? You have like all these various they compartmentalize everything. Yeah.
And that's how they've been hiding so much. But now it's time to take all of it and put it back in together. You know, spirituality and science comes back together. All of the other timelines and roads and things come back and merge. That way we can go, okay, this is the world. Look at what happened.
Yeah, everything is interconnected. Absolutely everything.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. I see positive things. I don't know.
Exactly. I see it all. Like it's going to be beneficial for everyone. The outcome.
There's a lot of hurdles, and I think it'll be like a parallel reality for a period of time.
Mm-hmm. But
we're, you know, I forgot who it was who explained it. I don't remember if it was Bruce Lipton or Greg Braden, but we're explaining it as far as cymatics goes, right? So you have the plate and they pour sand on top of the plate, and then you hit a frequency and it makes a geometric pattern, right? And then you change the dial to a different frequency, and in that moment where it's changing from the original shape into the other, it's chaotic, it's scattered, it's not quite formed yet. And that's exactly where we're at right now. We're at that point in time where we haven't fully gone, you know, down the path that we're going to go, and it's being formulated right in the here and the now. And it all depends on, I don't know if it depends anymore. I used to think it depends, but now I'm just feeling like there's just so many people who are awake that I just don't see it going their way. Even if they steal the elections, you know, with their Dominion machines, like it doesn't even matter, because at the end of the day, I think the majority are going to be like, I'm just not going to play by your rules.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
then a new structure has to be, you know, alongside that and available for people to actually be able to jump on to.
Yeah.
Which I thought that's why I thought cryptos were so great when they came out. You know, but of course they got their hands on that too and whatever, but something, you know, it was a good thought. You
well,
know,
I tell you, the thing you know about the Saturnian death cults, any term associated with death, like crypto, like crypt,
right,
will indicate who it's associated with. Just, I mean, for me, I was like, nope, that's them. You know, the death cult of Saturn, that's those people. So I knew not to even touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Right. But you know, in other words, that I was saying it to compare like another system that's decentralized. In other words, it's not going by their rules.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a whole new system.
Yep.
Like we need a whole new system to be able to to jump onto.
It's coming. Yep.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The Nicera, Jacera, and all that.
Yeah. All that stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing your time.
Yeah. Thank you for having. Yeah. Thank you for reaching out.
Yeah, sure. I was so excited that you were just like, yeah, sure. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I went to your website, I mean, your YouTube channel, and I, you know, I saw a couple of things. I was like, okay, why not?
Yeah, no. Yeah. Oh, I talk about the weirdest things too. I'm like, look at this, people. Can y'all see this? And it's not always darkness, you know. I'm going to get back into the lighter things, but the way I see it, like we have to know darkness in order to know our light. And that is basically the foundations of the yin and yang principle. So I certainly don't.
Yeah, we don't have a choice. We live in a dual reality.
Yes, yes.
We don't have a choice. And if you didn't have the dark, then you wouldn't know even what the light was.
Yep, exactly. That's the whole point of all of it.
Yeah. Right. The experience, right?
Yeah.
The journey.
It is a journey. It's a hero's
journey. Yeah.
We're just avatars having a video game.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever read The Holographic Universe? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with all kinds of things. It's so great. That's why I was so excited to talk to you.
Yeah. Well, I'm free to talk, you know, again, privately or
sure.
Whatever
and anytime if you have something you want to share with people, please by all means reach out. You know, we'll do another interview where we're like, okay, just chit chat and whatever. I'll include you in some of my roundtable talks too, because that's kind of fun too.
Oh yeah, would love to, with other like-minded people. You mean?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I have 2 friends that I've been friends with now for like the past 9 years that you know, that's what we do. We just share information amongst ourselves.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, I've got a whole like connection of people where we talk about all kinds of things. So need to have more talks.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much and good evening. Have a good evening. I'll be in touch soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Namaste. Bye.